All right, let's do drills. Shield stratagem. Up, down, left, right, down. Hellbomb. Up, down, left, right, up, down, left, up, down. Oh, hello, fellow cadets. Welcome to Super Earth. My name is Kurosh. I'm your host today, and this is my show, the KJP Show, where we talk about indie games and all kinds of games in larger conversations, whether I'm doing game reviews, whether I'm doing impressions, or whether we're just having a discussion about something related to games. This is the show where I'd like to do that, and I like to have that conversation with you. Today, we're doing a little special thing. Like I said, I largely like to emphasize indie games, and technically this is an indie game, and the reason of which I do indie games is because I like to give it additional coverage that it often doesn't get, and I think that those developers, much like any other developer, should get a chance to get some highlight on their craft. But today, and occasionally, I've allowed myself this thing of, if a game really speaks to me and really resonates, I want to talk about it. I want to have that conversation here and have it with you, as I've said. And today, what we're doing is we're going to be talking about one of my latest addictions, Helldivers 2. You maybe have noticed I was practicing my stratagems in-game, but you'll understand that later if that doesn't make any sense to you. Today's review is going to be about Helldivers 2 from the studio Arrowhead Game Studios. And I've also been trying a new thing. We've been trying this thing where instead of doing what is the game, what was my experience, what did I like, what did I not like, and what could be improved upon, I'm kind of trying, I want to see how this feels of going through who, what, when, where, and why. And see how that feels and see what you guys think. See what this is as much of a conversation I'm having individually in a room right here by myself with you, the camera, the viewer, who I'm engaging with. This is a two-way street, so I want to know if this jives with you, this feels good both ways. So that's important to me. So let's get into it. Let's get into who made this game. This game is made by Arrowhead Game Studios. They are an independent game studio that has made one game, to my knowledge, prior to this game, and that was Helldivers 1. So Arrowhead Games made this game, made Helldivers 1 prior to this, back in 2015 on PS3, PS4, and PS Vita, not PSP, not to be mixed with PSP. PSP came first, PS Vita came out later. This was on PS Vita, PS4, and PS3. And it was same concept, same theme, same premise, but the way in which the game was played was different. Obviously, back in that time, very different mechanics, very different technology, but also the style of game was much more akin to a Diablo or akin to a Hades, in that it was isometric kind of camera angle, and you're looking kind of sort of top-down, controlling your character with the twin sticks and navigating co-op with other players, much like this one is. But that was their prior game, and they've taken, several years now, 9 years to be exact, to develop the sequel to it for current gen consoles, and it has changed a lot of what it is, of where it came from. So that's a little bit of the history of the studio and what they've been doing since their prior game. A lot of what they've done, and I want to highlight some things now, and I'll highlight it later as well. But as a studio, what I'm seeing now is a very solid connection and engagement with their player base. They are tapped in, they are talking them through problems, they're talking them through changes they're making, they're talking them through updates that they're looking to add. And it's this conversation that I think makes their studio very strong in ways that oftentimes you expect out of a AAA studio, out of a studio by like major publishers, but they're doing it at their level, at a smaller studio, independently owned. And I think that's impressive. I think that should be commended, and I think that kind of is something that I want to highlight from the who side of it, of what is admirable, what is something that I really appreciate when I think of games and who is making. Now let's get into what is Helldivers. Helldivers 2 is a sequel to Helldivers 1. But what is the concept? It's this futuristic satire world that has been created where there is a super Earth and there's a galaxy, and you are these Helldivers, that's the characters that you play, and you're kind of like a Clone Wars. You're just a dime a dozen. You play these characters that are just replaceable, and you're going through it, and you play as those characters. So whenever one dies, you just take on another one, and you're a copy of it. But the satire comes in how over dramatic it gets with the democracy. They're wanting to spread democracy from galaxy to shining galaxy, to sea to shining sea. This land is super Earth land. And it does it with the intention and the over-the-top nature that some would liken to Super Troopers. Not Super Troopers. Starship Troopers. Not Super Troopers. Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers, often the film and then the cartoon series as well, known for how much it satires into the whole like military propaganda side of things. This fully hones in on that and turns it into a game, essentially. You have your group of the humans and the Super Earth and the Helldivers, and you're fighting against the Terminated, which are these like bug-like aliens, and you're fighting against the automatons, which are essentially these Terminator-like robots. There are other races in prior games, but that's not yet been hinted at or discussed at all in this game. This is set, I believe, 100 or so years after the whatever story or world or landscape that was in the prior game. And what type of game is it? It's no longer a top-down ISO type of view player, multiplayer game. It's still a multiplayer game. It's still very much a co-op game, but now it's more of a third-person over-the-shoulder type of game where you're just playing. It's a shooter, and you often have a variety of different guns, from your pistol, your primary gun, and then you can call in various what they refer to as stratagems. So you put in a bunch of like DDR-style arrow keys to call in these pods that drop in either supplies, resources, or additional artillery, either directly onto the ground where you could then equip and carry with you, or hailing from the sky like a beacon of like, hey, I need support, rain in hell on these napalm strikes or these orbital lasers that you have. Just everything under the sun to make you feel like this powerful, crazy, gung-ho kind of guy. Or girl. Now let's get into the when and the where, because I think those kind of go hand in hand. When is it available? It's available now. Where is it available? It's available on PS5 and on PC. Why I link those two together is because there's been a large clamoring in the community to make this more available, to make this available to Xbox fans as well. Because the PS5 and the PC communities have allowed, there is crossplay. And so a lot of people are clamoring to play this game on both. It has beaten a lot of records when it comes to concurrent player counts on the Steam. And I don't believe the numbers have yet been shared from the PlayStation side, but it's every record that was beaten has been set. It has superseded when it first launched. It kind of came out of nowhere, in my view. It didn't have any large advertisement or pushing this to be anything larger than it was. It was never a huge, it was a success at the time with the fans that it had when it came out. It wasn't on the level of like a Call of Duty or like a Fortnite at those times. What it's like now feels like this big congregation of folks that come together for World of Warcraft or come together for Fortnite in a lot of ways. And I can go into why I think that goes into later, but that's why I bring in the where and the when, because I think right now it's available on these, but I hope that where it's available and when that'll be, who knows, will change. And I'd like to see it on Xbox as well. Now let's get into why I think you should play this game. Let's start with my grade, because I do want to, this is the last two videos I've done were impressions where I've done this who, what, when, where, why. I think the why should follow what my overall grade is. And for my grade with this game, I'm going to give Helldivers 2 an A+. This game has been fantastic. This game has taken so many hours from me, and I have not regretted a minute of it. Every group of friends I've played with, every moment I've had with it has been memorable, has been funny, has been intense, it's just been everything. It's just a range of different things, and I very much enjoy it for that, and I think it's very commendable in some ways of like what they were able to achieve with this. Because when you look at it, I don't think it necessarily had any one thing that just made it have an edge over any other game. I think it was a combination of a variety of things that really made this game resonate and has made this game be so successful. I think the fact that it's easy to jump into and kind of just easy to get going. You don't need to know a lot going into it, and there's not a lot of repercussions. You can just go in, you're expected to die, and you just keep repeating it, and it's like live, die, repeat in some ways. I think Edge of Tomorrow is what it got retitled to, where you're learning through iteration. You're playing, and there's not like a heavy stake in that. You're not losing a game, and even if you lose, it's still like we're furthering democracy. It's the hilarity of it, the camaraderie of it comes into play with the multiplayer side of it. This is a co-op game. I have now played this game with combinations of friends I never thought would mix. Just not out of any real borrowings or anything, but just, hey, you're playing, let's play. Hey, you're playing, let's play. And it just keeps coming out of that. I've now played with everyone from coworkers to colleagues to friends to people that I've just acquaintances. And I haven't had that feeling in some time. I think games that come to mind that kind of just become this kind of joyous kind of focal point make me think of when Fortnite was at its like highest level of enjoyment, where everyone was just kind of jumping in, playing all kinds of different things. It still captures it, but I don't think it was it's at that same intensity. I think of Pokemon Go when it first came out, when everyone and anyone that had a phone was playing that game to varying degrees, and everywhere you were, there was like, oh, they're playing Pokemon, or they're in their street playing Pokemon. So this does something in that ease of playability, I think, that lends itself. Now, the other part of it, I think, that lends itself to why you would enjoy, or why it earned that grade, or why I think it's good, is just that feeling it gives you. It's very gratifying. It's very easy to get that gratification of you're just like, I don't know if it's every boy's dream, but to me, just having like making a last stand on a mound of bugs, just like laying waste while my buddies are trying to get on the ship. There's something like hell yeah about that I very much enjoy, and it lets you feel that way. You could be like, all right, everyone, get in the ship. I'm gonna blow these bugs up to Kingdom Come and like make this last stand, and you feel like empowered. You feel strong. You feel defiant. You feel capable, and like in really cool ways. And I think that's fun, and I think that variety is also a part of it, where it's not just here's this gun and here's this and then just go, and that's like whatever the meta. I think oftentimes people think of with games like this is what is the almost optimal way to play. There is no real, in my view, optimal way to play. I think what playstyle you prefer, and it offers a range of playstyles. There's a slew of different weaponry to pick from, whether it be a flamethrower, a rocket launcher, a heavy machine gun, a lightning gun, to new guns that they're adding into the game now that are laser-based or fire-based and all kinds of stuff. I have a few friends now. One is planning on making a whole loadout where it's electricity-based, and everyone in the team could then I'll get into another thing in a second, but the whole loadout based around electricity, and I've been trying a whole loadout based on fire, and just being this fire bad hellcat that just lays waste to every bug in my path. It's just fun. Like there's this like player fantasy that you get out of it, of just being this like crazy, super cool trooper just in the middle of bug land and just laying waste to all kinds of players. Now, I did want to talk about something, and I think this is another part of the fun, is the hilarity that comes with it. There's a coolness that comes with it, and there's a hilarity that comes with it. The hilarity comes with two parts. One, just the physics of the game. There's a lot of ragdolling, whether it be from bugs or from just random different things that are happening to the environment. It makes for many hilarious moments where you're just in the middle of having this epic moment, and all of a sudden a bug just charges and tackles you, and you go flying with your legs like over your head, and it just like, you take the fall damage and you just get right back up and you just start running. That imagery and that visual to me is hilarious. The other part of it comes with the friendly fire. It is not an option. Friendly fire is a thing that exists in this game, and it's always on. And so if you are in your friend's crosshairs, or if you're in the region where your friend just hailed down an napalm strike, you're going to be blown to hell and back. And it's part of the chaos. It's part of the hilarity of like your characters are just so expendable and dying, and war is just this crazy thing. I think it just lends itself to that comedy, and it makes the multiplayer even more fun, and it lowers the stakes, I think, even more, in the sense of I don't think I've ever fallen in a group and played in an enjoyable way where, hey, we're all taking this super seriously. This game is not to be, I think, taken seriously. This game is to be, go in, you're having fun, and whatever you do in that mission, you're hoping to come out with some resources and some cool progression, but to me, those are all an afterthought. Those are all like an icing on the cake. The fun is in doing these missions either on my own or with friends and seeing all these cool or funny things happen. And yeah, I think the only thing that would bar you from wanting to play this sort of game is if you're not inclined to enjoy or to play the games that are very violent in any sort of nature. There's not necessarily there's blood, but if a shooter style game is not your cup of tea, this is probably not your thing. But if you enjoy the games like Fortnite or the other types of shooters, like Gears of War comes to mind, Outriders comes to mind, or just anything at all, like the price tag is not also is a factor, is that it's not trying to take your money and run. They're not trying to microtransaction you to death with a multiplayer game. What they're doing with the multiplayer is working really well, and I think that also just inclines me to recommend this even more to more people. Just the base game is $40. What you get for it is a lot. The replayability is fantastic. The things that they offer cosmetically or that you could buy if you'd like to you are able to get through in-game currency, and it's not hard to get. It's not like you have to spend 80,000 hours and credits to get one thing. If you play it in-game, you can find everything through their in-game free stuff and be fine. So anyway, I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but to that end, I would really commend the studio, Arrowhead Game Studios, to just bravo. I think what they've done at the onset of this, the launch was a little rocky, I'll say that. I don't think they expected or I expected this to be what it was. When it was being pitched and when it was being marketed, it went about things and it kind of this is another kind of multiplayer game. I was familiar with the property, and I knew that there was the humor was there. I just didn't know, like, that's what the gameplay, the way their advertisement showed, did not seem like it was meant to be a funny, rompy kind of satirical multiplayer game. I remember seeing their first state of play with PlayStation, and the gameplay, the way we were showing the co-op, was much more like a Destiny, where everything was very calculated, coordinated, how you take things down. And there is that is a part of it, but you're doing that through chaos and through hilarity and through just all kinds of silliness. And that's the sweet sauce. That's the secret stuff that I think really makes this turn into what it is now. And so now when I'm not like going down rabbit holes of memes and all this stuff with this game, I've been playing it whenever I get a chance. And I would really recommend anyone that enjoys that sort of stuff or finds any of this interesting to really give this a shot. I think it's worth it, and it's earned its A+ with me. And yeah, that's my review of Helldivers 2. I'm very curious to hear what you think of my review, and if you have played it, what do you think of the game? What resonated with you? What do you like most about it? What bugged you, or what has bugged you? What do you want to see them do? These are questions I still ask myself, because they have been showing, based on what they did with the prior game, things that could come back or make returns in this game. They've already hinted at additional mech suits and armored vehicles and new enemy types and new races and stuff. So yeah, I'd love to see what other fans want out of this. So please let me know, and I'd love to hear back. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Thank you for your time again. Always appreciate it. And until next time, I'll see you guys out there, Super Earth soldiers.